Let's dive in to talk about what strategic planning is. We're going to talk about this from a high level, and it really covers all areas of the business and requires that all areas of the business participate in order to achieve the full organizational goals. It was Zig Ziglar that said, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. And of course, you don't want to hit nothing, you want to hit something. So you need to do some strategic planning to define what that is up front and then get to work. So first decide where you want to go, then decide how you'll get there and map out that process. And you want to measure progress alongside of that. Strategic planning really covers all functions of the business and requires that all areas of the business participate at a detail level in order to get the organization where it wants to be at a high level. So with strategic planning, you're going to drive strategy formulation, right? Where do you want to be? Implementation of how you're going to get there, and then it'll give you kind of a progress evaluation along the way so you can reframe if you need to. It's going to enable you to move faster because when you know you're going the right direction, you can pump the gas and really move quickly. It's going to give you individual and empowerment. So if everybody on the team knows what needs to be done and how to do it, then they can go off and start to work on their own. It won't feel like you need so many meetings to sync up all the time because people will be empowered to go get their work done. And it'll enable measured success. So it will help you to define, did we succeed or not? And for everybody to agree on that definition and to look at measured metrics rather than gut feelings to know if you've nailed it or not. It's going to promote alignment, synergy, and acceleration among the team when you're all marching to the beat of the same drum and headed in the same direction. So you want to jump into your strategic plan development, and this is at a super high level. First, you're going to need to understand your internal drivers and your external forces. Think of this as kind of a SWOT analysis, with your strengths and your weaknesses being internal and your opportunities and threats being external. You want to know what's going on, what are you facing, what are you good at, what might be challenging. Next, you want to develop your vision statement if it isn't already, and it might be. This is a huge overarching statement as a goal, long-term goal for the business in full. So it might already be in place. If it's not, go ahead and get it there. It should be aspirational, concise, clear, challenging, inspiring, and time measured, but longer term. So what does long-term mean to you? Could be 3, 5, 10 years, something like that. You'll want to know your high-level objectives. What are you really going after? Your implementation plan, how are you going to get there? Your resource allocation strategy, and that's not just money, that's time, money, that's people, right? It could be employees or consultants. What have you got on your bench that will work for you? And then what performance metrics are going to use? So how will you measure your project? There's a ton out there, right? So you have SaaS metrics, financial metrics, you have marketing metrics, sales metrics. Maybe take a few from each. Don't overwhelm yourself, but make sure you get a full picture. So one way to frame your thinking is the Hoshin-Conry strategic planning model. And this is all over the internet, right? So do your own research to kind of learn more about this and figure out what it means to you. But this is really kind of a nesting doll strategy where you're going to take at your highest level your vision. So this is your long-term overarching picture. And then break that down into strategic business objectives. So maybe 2 or 3 of these that you want to achieve. They could be qualitative and quantitative. They're still going to be pretty high level because they are strategic in nature. So one business objective is going to mean something different to each team on how they'll work to achieve that, right? So if it's increase your customer base, well, marketing will see that differently than sales, then finance, then engineering, but they're all going to have a part to play in that. So they're high enough that they'll be relevant to everybody. And then you're going to have your annual objectives that relate to those strategic business objectives. These will be 2 to 3, but remember, you're going to have multiple annual objectives for each business objective. So now this is breaking it down to say, okay, what are we actually going to do in the next 12 months in order to promote progress towards that business objective? So it's not a one-to-one relationship. These are influential, they're output focused, and they're contained. So here you don't want to be so broad as to say like, get more customers. You want to say, okay, so for finance, that might mean budget in a way that increases sales and marketing capability by allocating more dollars there. Or it could be, if you're looking at your product team to expand product content, then your product team might be looking at developing 1 to 2 new features for the product set in order to achieve those annual objectives, which will promote the strategic business objectives, which will ultimately drive the company toward its vision. For each annual objective, you're going to have some action items. So they're tactical, impactful, and actionable. They're very, very clear. Complete the budget, or launch the program, or initiate a campaign. They're very contained. It's clear what you need to do, and you can absolutely get it done, and it can be measured. So for each action item, then you want to measure, and that can be qualitative. Typically, it's quantitative. It needs to be meaningful, insightful, and measurable. It can't be do a good job, right? Because what does good job mean? So you want it to be absolutely measurable. So get X number of leads in Y amount of time. And then you can go back and measure and say, were we able to do that? If not, why? How can we fix it? Was the goal wrong and we're not there yet? Or was our approach wrong? Or do we not have enough resources allocated to that? It'll be very meaningful, but you want the actual data of did we achieve it to be very clear and easy to grab.